So this week we're finally going to be working with CSS. And CSS is what makes your pages look pretty. It's how we add color. It's how we move things around and position sections of the page where we want them to display. So as far as what we are going to be covering this week, there are some web readings that you're going to do first. Then you're going to go through the lecture demo. You'll complete the textbook assignment and then the lab assignment. And we are not going to go through all of the CSS today. What we're going to do is go through the CSS that you will use the most often. There is additional CSS. It's part of CSS 3, which has animations and all sorts of cool stuff. We get into that in lesson 9. Okay, so what we're going to be learning today is the CSS that you're pretty much going to use in every single page that you create. Um, just like images and links, your CSS is going to be case sensitive. So if your CSS is not being applied to your page, it's probably due to some type of typo or uppercase, lowercase difference. Okay. I did create a little video of common problems and how to fix them. And we'll quick take a look here at the web readings. So just like the HTML one, when we first got into HTML, there was a lot of links, and you can see there's quite a few with CSS too, but they're short. So this one on colors goes through color names, how to do background color. Okay, so it's pretty short. It's just different ways of applying color. Okay, so all of these are going to be short. They're all going to have little sections where you can practice. And then you can go through the lecture demo, which kind of pulls everything together. Okay, so lecture demo takes all of those little pieces of information and it literally puts it all together. Okay, and I've got lots and lots of examples that you can view. This link is to an external style sheet that I actually use to format all of the pages in this particular course. Okay, that's why they all have kind of the same color scheme. Okay, but you can see as we're learning about stuff, there's links out so you can see it being applied and you can actually play with that code. Here they talk about inline styles and they show you a couple, right? And so you can change the color and you can run it and you can see what that looks like. Okay, so as you go through here, I really encourage you guys to click on these links and to practice at the interactive sites because that is how you're going to learn this. Okay, so that's why I have all of these links in here. Now, because we get into changing color, I do include a little bit on color theory. And for some of you, this will be a review, and some of you, it'll be new. But color in your color selections uh, kind of make a big impact on your website. And so I do have some examples of good sites and poor sites. Okay, and so, I mean, if you look, got earthy tones here. Color does really play an impact in some of these sites. And then if we were to look at the poor sites, usually the poor sites don't utilize color well. They are crowded. Things aren't laid out very well. Okay, so you can kind of look through here. This one is missing graphics. Um, so there's there's reasons why they are listed on the poor site list. But then we get into our color theory. And like I said, for some of you, this is going to be a review. But I think for those of you that are not familiar with color, I think that this will actually really help you determine, what colors you want to use in your page and how to select colors that look good together, that are harmonious. Okay, so these are different schemes that you can use to pick harmonious colors. Okay, and then this is nothing you're going to be tested on, but we do use hexadecimal color. And so it is kind of helpful to understand how that color works. What do those letters and numbers mean? And then finally, there are actually websites that will help you select color. And that's why it's important that you understand what these harmonious schemes are, because those websites utilize harmonious color schemes. So let's see, I like the Adobe one. So you can see these are the different color schemes. And the middle color is the one that it is kind of keying off of. And so you can actually change that, to whatever color you want. And I selected Triad, so it's going to give me harmonious colors for this particular shade. Okay, so it's actually pretty cool. And it does make selecting colors a little bit easier. Another thing you can do is you can actually upload a graphic that you're going to feature on your page, and you can have LunaPick, excuse me, you can have LunaPick pull colors from that graphic. And sometimes when you have LunaPick pull the colors, if you, pick a couple of these key colors, they're going to look good on the page because you've got the graphic on the page and they're part of that graphic. Okay, so as you go through here, there's information on the CSS property and the values that you use. So once you're done with the lecture demo, you're going to do the textbook assignment, which is more directive. As always, there's videos and there's a file structure you have to create. There's also files that you will download and graphics that you will download. And then it's just a matter of kind of walking through the instructions and applying the CSS. Let me get rid of some of these. Once you finish the textbook assignment, you are going to transfer to the web and submit done. Then you'll do your lab assignment. And so you're going to take that page that you created last week where you had the thumbnail graphic and it linked to the web optimized graphic. You are going to add CSS to that page. Okay, and so here's an example of what I did, with the lion and tiger page. And then you are going to update your assignment page. You're going to add the links for lesson 4, but you're also going to add some CSS styling. You're going to create an external style sheet. Okay, and so you're going to have to figure out a color scheme, and you might want to, choose some colors that are in your background graphic, for example. Or you may want to, go to the Adobe site or one of those other sites and figure out a color scheme there. Okay. These are the CSS properties that you need to style. Okay, so these should all have styles. Here's and the example that I did. And if you click on that, you can see, what I used. Okay, and then you do need some type of inline style, which I did at the bottom here. Okay, and then once you're done, you'll get everything transferred to the web, and you will come back in here and submit done. And then once you're done with all of that, we have a little discussion item, and this is CSS research. And so this is addressing two of our course learning outcomes, give and receive feedback and engage in self-directed learning. So we have not covered all of CSS yet. There is a lot of really cool CSS that is part of CSS 3. And we'll get into that lesson 9. However, if you guys are curious and you would like to learn about, some CSS that we have not covered yet, this is your opportunity to do that. So you can select a CSS property you want to learn more about. It can be one that we covered this week, or it can be a property that maybe you find on the internet that we haven't talked about yet. So in your post, you indicate which property you researched and provide a link to the article or the video you used. Explain what the purpose of the CSS property is and how it can be used in web pages. And then I want you to read the postings from the other students and reply to one. So I'm going to go ahead and post an example here. I'm going to pause the video. All right, so I just posted a little example, and here's some CSS that we have used. But what this does is if we use the text shadow this way, it does like an outline around, it gives you like a stroke around the letters. And there is some newer CSS that will kind of do the same thing. And it's called text stroke. And because it's newer, we prefix it with WebKit, and then we also key it in without WebKit. And eventually, when all of the browsers and the iOS devices and everything recognize it, then we won't need the WebKit. But we include both so that if they need the WebKit, it's there. And if they don't need it, they'll just use this one. Okay. And if I click the link, you guys can kind of see how cool this is. Okay. So basically this is what it does. Like it lets you do a stroke color and a fill color. And for those of you that have worked in like Illustrator and that kind of thing, it's the same idea, right? You can put a stroke color around the outside and you can fill it in with a color. Okay, and so I've got an example. You could actually copy and paste this and, check out how it looks. Okay, so if you come in here and you post and there's nobody else to reply to, you certainly can reply to mine because replying is worth points and so is posting. Okay, but that is basically what you're going to be working on this week. If you run into problems or if you have questions, please let me know because I am here to help you. And I actually love working on this stuff. I love working with CSS. So it's fun for me. So like I said, if you have problems, questions, please let me know.